Hi everyone, Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and they're not. You're watching Big Rye and the Fat Guy. Fine, I'll say it. Boom shakalaka.
Quiet on set, we're about to roll. What's up, YouTube? It's the NFL Picks Against the Spread for Week 7 for the 21-22 NFL season. Fat Guy, we are 44, 45, and 3, just below 500, so hopefully we have a nice win with the Steelers for Sunday Night Football. On to the Thursday game for Week 7, Denver at Cleveland. Cleveland 4.5-point favorites at home. 83% of early bettors are on the Cleveland Browns. Fat Guy, what do you think about this game?
Wow, it's a great day of a game between the Denver Broncos and perhaps the injured Cleveland Browns. Now, this did open at 7, and I'll be honest, or 6 rather. I got it at 6. I hammered it. I hammered the Broncos, but I think there's still possibly some value at 4.5 on the Broncos just because there's injury uncertainty. I mean, Chubb was out. Not that running backs are the biggest things in the world. Kareem Hunt was carted off. Baker Mayfield looks like his non-throwing shoulder got injured again. 2 tackles got injured. I mean, that's a cluster that could affect the Browns. Odell left the game and came back. Not that has any effect. It might even be better if he doesn't play. But 4.5 seems like a number that, like, if it stays here, which I think it probably will, just because, like, why would the book put it out if they weren't pretty certain on some of these injuries? But they have made mistakes in the past, right? And it is possible that, like, all of those guys are out. And then this line, I mean, Denver would be, I think, favored, to be honest. I think Denver against Case Keenum and missing 2 linemen and 2 running backs. I mean, not that I think running backs are huge, but a cluster at running back because you're left to it Felton and Ernest Johnson. I mean, that's a little bit of a gap there, a little bit of a gap in talent down. I mean, you could see a Denver -1. So do I think there's value currently at 4.5? No, but if this injury status changes, it's almost like a juice free roll, right? Where you get Denver at a so-so price or at a astounding price, depending on injury. So this is just really injury speculation. I don't think you can't really handicap it other than the injuries. So Denver plus 4.5 is the play. And in real life, I got it at 6, and I'm really pleased with that line.
No international games this week, so we'll move on to the 1 p.m. Eastern time games. We'll start off with the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans, who are 4-point underdogs at home. Fat Guy, we don't have any betting market info. There's 0 bets placed on this game as far as Action Network is concerned. What do you think about this line of 4?
Well, I don't think there is 0. I think there's been some moving and shaking on Tennessee outside of the grasp of the Action Network. Tennessee plus 4 is probably a good price. I could see some closing line value. It is a look ahead, that line, though. Tennessee hasn't played Buffalo, and those sentiments could change. Like, if Buffalo smokes Tennessee like they did Kansas City, you could see some line movement. But people like to do that that thing where they put teams side to side as if it's like a perfect simulation. Oh, KC got blown out by Buffalo. Okay, so Tennessee did, so it means nothing. So it might not carry the weight that it could have, tomorrow. But obviously, like I said, it's a look ahead one. So the injuries could play a role if someone like Tannehill or Derrick Henry got injured. And again, I just railed on running backs for not being that valuable, but Derrick Henry would be probably the only one that could move maybe a point. You know what I mean? Because he is Derrick Henry, King Henry. Anyways, plus 4 points, I think, is a nice line in terms of closing line value, because I think this could set around KC 3. So I really like the 3.5 and the 4.
Next up, we have the Jets traveling to Foxborough to take on the Pats. We're 6.5-point favorites at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, this opened at a 7 in some spots, and then I believe people would have taken the Jets. We don't have Action Network's betting numbers because, again, we're doing this as early as possible, firing that video out. And I'm trying to even be less long-winded, as much of a struggle as that is. Obviously I should have explained that in more detail. But the Jets plus 6.5, I think that half point carries a lot of weight, and I think that's in New England's favor. And I think New England's a team where 7 is more of a key number than 6 or 8, because New England just uses traditional. They're the least risky team in terms of going for it on fourth down, which I believe has some sort of translation in terms of going for two. So you're going to get less funky numbers between these two teams, whereas like Cleveland, I think 6 and 8 are way more likely considering their adoption of analytics. So 7 is a stronger number, I believe, with New England, especially as a favorite, and I think a good one as well. I don't mind laying 6.5 because I believe in that extra half point. So 7 with good juice on New England, I think, is a good number, because I think it will probably end up closing around 7. Because who's really racing to the racing to the book to bet on the Jets? I think you'll just get more public money, not a ton, because I think what we have been able to ascertain from the data that we have is that the betting public favors Tom Brady over Bill Belichick. So there is a big drop off in terms of public backing, but they are still going to favor the Patriots over the Jets every time. And I think they will make up that half point. So if you get the 6.5, I think that is enough, that half point, to beat minus 105 juice. So 6.5 for closing line value on the New England Patriots.
And just to add on to what Fat Guy was saying, the New England Patriots over the last season and 5 games or whatever, they've been the 16th most bet team as far as percentage of bets. So much like a pretty far fall from grace as far as probably being a top 1 or 2 team for 15 years.
Yeah.
On to Carolina at the New York Giants. Giants 2.5 point dogs at home. Fat Guy, what do you think about this one?
I think even though I said it was a mispricing, the 3.5 last week, I know I'm talking about another game, Chargers and Ravens, and it should be a 3. I still feel that way. You can't just go on the results, right? So you still have to think of, if you simulate the game and the distribution, like Baltimore crushing LAC, I mean, that's obviously going to happen, 5-6% of the time. So this is a mispricing, I think. And I think that Carolina has value at laying 2.5 points. I think the Giants are of the worst coach teams in the league. I think they make poor decisions on fourth down. I think they make poor decisions in terms of clock management. And that's enough. That gap is enough for me. And not to say that Carolina is perfect, but I think that there is a coaching gap between the two. And that's enough for me to make up, because you have to think of, where is the asymmetry of information? The lines are made knowing the players, knowing mostly the health status of the players, and being able to forecast in the future in those terms. However, though, I do think that there will be closing line value on the Carolina Panthers. They'll set around 3 to 3.5 point favorites, I feel like, just because they had a strong performance against the Minnesota Vikings. It didn't work out. They went to overtime. So you could even call it a neutral, if not a positive, even in a loss, whereas the Giants were just completely hapless. And that was a book that was, that was a line that was really strange. There was a reverse line movement on that, where the book took exposure and they got real egg on their face, because all the squares bet on the Rams at every number, and they piled on. They really beat the Giants. They covered every number that you could get. They probably covered every alternate line, Big Rye, and I believe achieved scoregami in the process. So that being said, regardless of the results of this game, I think minus 2.5 is a mispricing. So I like the Carolina Panthers, and I don't mind laying the 2.5 points. And even more so, like I said, the gap between 6.5 and 7 on New England is is beatable at minus 105. Even more so at 2.5. From that key number of 3 with the highest push frequency of all numbers. And if it goes to 3.5, that's just a home run. So CLV on the Carolina Panthers.
Next up, Cincinnati at Baltimore, 6.5 point favorites at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
This is a tough one. I mean, but Baltimore is going to get street cred for beating the Chargers like that. Like, they just are. The Chargers have been one of the best teams in the league, and they've had really strong results. Cincinnati, are they going to get street cred for piling on Detroit? I don't think so. So I think that I don't think this is a mispricing at all. I think this is probably right. Maybe 6 is right even. This is how funny it is. I almost think that it's you're better off taking the Bengals in terms of a handicapping perspective, but it's not what I believe. It's what number is going to be best against the efficient betting market. And obviously not all closing numbers are perfect, but that's the objective this year. And I think this has a better chance of settling around 7 but I think there's going to be very little movement. So we're just going to take Baltimore because, again, that half point. But I feel way less inclined about this number than I do New England. And I don't even feel strongly about this one. So this is purely a contest pick, Baltimore -6.5.
And I'm going to jump in here and say that originally in my head, I had Cincinnati as the pick, but exactly what Fat Guy said is true. Like him and I, if gun to our head, we're probably taking the Bengals. But as far as closing line value goes, it's more likely to move in Baltimore's favor up to 7 or 7.5
I don't
based
even think
off of what's
7.5.
happening.
Yeah.
On to the next one, Atlanta at Miami. And this opened as a pick 'em, Fat Guy. Who you got?
Well, honestly, I think this is one where we can pull our viewers here. I'm going to take Miami. Big Rye had Atlanta. I don't think it matters. I think I even bet a friend that Miami would open as favorites, and he bet that Atlanta would open as favorites because something unprecedented happened. I believe Miami had a choice of taking their bye after their England trip, and they refused that choice. And so think about it. It's a team coming off a bye in the Atlanta Falcons and a team coming back traveling from England in the Miami Dolphins. Does that mean anything? You guys tell us, because this is again, we're prodding. There's no big data sample set. This is a sample of one. This has never happened. And also, two, that being a sample of one doesn't mean you can just draw every conclusion from it. That's not how these things work. So the best way of doing it is hypothesizing. So I challenge you guys in the comments section to come up with reasonings on whether there is any sort of advantage in terms of travel for Atlanta with having the bye and Miami having to travel such a great distance, or is that already baked into the line? You know what I mean? Because I tend to think that it is, because I feel like Miami should be a 1 or 1.5 point favorite. But this is a chalk game. Neither Big Rye or I really care for it. Having it as a pick 'em is probably best. I'm just going to go with what my original line was. I thought it'd be Miami -1.5. In terms of closing line value, I literally have no idea. And that's why I challenge you guys in the comment section to come up with some sort of data correlation between other traveling instances, because this is never happening, and bye weeks, to see if we can't come up with some sort of consensus hypothesis, to use big words, in terms of this really unique situation. So Miami to win the game, I guess.
Yeah, as far as like picking or betting this game, like Fat Guy and I are probably going to stay away from this game. But to be honest, this is going to be 5-star entertainment. This game is going to be an S show, if you guys know what I mean. And I'm down for that. So next up, we have the Washington football team traveling to Lambeau to take on the Packers, who are 10.5 point favorites. They've opened as 10.5 point favorites, Fat Guy, at home. Who you got? Well,
if you're going to make me take the worst side, you got to incentivize it. If I'm doing the book a favor, they have to incentivize it, and they have, because this line was originally like 7.5 when it opened, and we're about an hour past the opening lines, an hour and 20 minutes on the earliest of books, and Green Bay has been absolutely hammered here. And for good reason. I can kind of understand, but I think like at this point at 10.5, I'm okay taking the Washington football team. But in terms of closing line value, I'm not really sure. Like, is the betting public really that big a fan of laying 10.5 points, even with Green Bay? Like, Green Bay is a little bit more methodical. They're less like piling on scoring type team, like a Kansas City or Baltimore can be. So I think this is a little bit interesting here. I'm really closing line value may very well be with the Green Bay Packers, but I do think that there is better value with the Washington football team. And again, I'm so unsure of the closing line value that I'm just going to take the 10.5 points here. So, because I don't really have a strong inkling that that's going to be the case. This one I kind of want to watch out for. I want to see is laying over double digits, because this half point actually makes somewhat of an impact, because 10 is probably a higher key number in this game. So 7 and 10 are. So I think 10.5 points is more of a prudent pick for the football team, but I am curious to see if the public's really into laying this number.
Fat Guy, next up, Philly at the Raiders. Raiders 3-point favorites at home. Who you got?
We're going to go with Raiders. We're going to lay the 3 points here. I don't have a strong feeling either way. In fact, I'm actually indifferent, which is a good sign that this is probably a strong line. Raiders -3. I do think that there is a chance that they might have got an addition by subtraction, perhaps, in terms of I don't want to say offensive potency, because they did have a lot of success with Gruden and Derek Carr through the air, but their run game was kind of poor, let's say it. I think they're a bit more balanced, and that might serve the Raiders a bit better. And I think 3 is the right number. I don't think there's going to be CLV either way. That being said, I'm just going to take the Raiders. I'm going to lay the 3 points, and this is a pretty chalk selection.
Next up, Fat Guy, Detroit at the LA Rams. Rams 15.5-point favorites at home, and they have received 86% of early spread bets. We're starting to get some of the percentages creeping in as we do this.
Yeah, I can understand that, because this opened as Rams -13.5, Rams -14, Rams -14.5. So, I mean, it looks like it's been trending all one direction here. This is the contest. I'm going to be taking Detroit here. I just don't lay that many points. Also, Rams are -1,000 on the money line last time I checked. Like, that's just a big favorite. I tend to just not really bet these games, or take someone like the Lions, just because the incentive. There's no incentive to win by 17. You know what I mean? Which is pretty much the next key number up. You know what I? So, like, it's obviously they just did it. There might be closing line value. This could close around 17, but I think it could close around 14.5 too. I don't have strong closing line value predictions on this game, but as far as the contest goes, I'm just not laying double digits of this nature. I'll take the Lions in the 15.5 points.
Next up, Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks 13-point favorites at home. They've received 76% of early bets, 138 bets only so far.
Yeah, this is another one where it's similar to the Detroit game. I mean, are they really going to and the Green Bay one? Like, is the public really going to just dogpile money at laying 13 points? I mean, I don't know. There has to be some sort of tipping point. I think this is right around where the Green Bay line is now. Like, I guess it could go 14.5. If it went to that, I would for sure buy in real life by the Chicago Bears. But in terms of the contest and closing line value, I think maybe it could shift to 13.5, but I'm not confident either way. So I'm just going to take the Bears, take the 13 points. And I don't really see any massive line shift or value in the foreseeable future. So another chalk one, 13 points, and the Chicago Bears.
Next up, Houston Texans at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals 17-point favorites at home. As far as bet percentages, 68% of early bettors are on the Cardinals.
It's another one, like such an ugly scheduling week, eh, Big Rye? I mean, just interesting. I don't remember this many double-digit dogs in a week, and here we go. Here we got the big one. I'm just not laying 17 points. It's just in an NFL game. So they're going to win by 21, 20. Like, there's just no real incentive here. And I actually think this Houston team, they're not good or anything, but the attempt is there, much like the Detroit Lions. They're still professionals. They're still veterans. No one likes to get crushed, even though that's the most likely result. I'll take the 17 points. I'll take the Houston Texans. In terms of closing line value, I don't like the gap between 17 and 17.5 or 16.5 is so negligible that I wouldn't call it closing line value, because I don't think you can beat the juice. So that's another reason that I've kind of swiftly glossed over these double-digit games, because those numbers aren't going to be key enough where it's going to matter. Because think of the combinations that you can win by when you're 17-point favorites with a high or reasonably high over-under, right? Like, it's just endless. Whereas if it's, a little bit more modest of a game and you have a 2.5 and a 3.5, it just seems to be 3 just seems to have just such more. It doesn't seem to be. It does mathematically draw so much power than a number like 17. So that being said, purely a contest pick, I'm never laying the 17. I'll just take the double-digit dogs in the Houston Texans at a really big number of 17.
Next up, Indy at San Fran. San Fran 4-point favorites at home. This is going to be the Sunday Night Football game. Fat Guy, you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I actually am. I'm actually a Colts coaching fan. I like Frank Reich. I like how they play. Carson Wentz isn't my favorite to watch, but San Francisco certainly is with their rushing attack. San Francisco always just seems to be an injured team, and the Colts very much so as well. So these are two teams that are in unfortunate circumstances in compared to their actual strength in terms of coaching and and player personnel, because these are both decent rosters, but it's just going to be difficult to make anything of this season, considering the start and the injuries both teams have had. So San Francisco at 4 is probably right. I saw it open at Indy +5. I kind of liked Indy at that 5 number. 5 and 4 aren't key numbers, 4 more so than 5. I like, even if Indy drops to 3.5, it's not going to be much. If it goes to 4.5, it isn't going to be much either. So this is kind of chalk, but this is one I do want to watch. So I'm just going to take the Indianapolis Colts, take the 4 points in the contest. In terms of closing line value, I don't think it can be had to beat the juice if that's the strategy that you were to employ. Sorry to end on a low note, but that is what it is. And all we can do is tell you guys the truth. But this should be a fun one to watch anyways.
And then on to Monday Night Football, where the Saints take on the Seahawks in Seattle. Seattle 3.5-point dogs at home. Fat guy, who you got?
I said end on a good note, and then there's one more game. Funny, I forgot about Monday Night Football. A guy who watches it every Monday for 15 years. We're going to take Seattle +3.5. That half point, it matters a lot. Seattle's playing now, so it's probably not up right now, considering they're putting up a reasonable fight against Pittsburgh. Will that bring them any sort of help? I'm not exactly sure. Is Geno Smith up to task? I'm not sure either. 3.5 points. It's just purely going to be a contest pick. I'm not sure there's value. I did consider New Orleans actually laying the 3.5 when it first opened, but that's because there was a really, really low juice. It was like even. So, but I juice on both sides, like -108, which is what I saw when it first opened. It shift to that. I'm not sure that there's value on either side. That being said, another one that's going to be enjoyable, and I'll just take a contest pick with the Seattle Seahawks and the points.
All right, fat guy. On to the lightning round. Denver at Cleveland.
Denver Broncos.
Kansas City at Tennessee.
Tennessee Titans.
Jets at the Pats.
New England Patriots.
Panthers Giants.
Possible mispricing. Carolina Panthers.
Bengals at the Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens.
Falcons at the Dolphins.
Let me know what the traveling implications are. Miami Dolphins to win the game.
A Washington football team at the Green Bay Packers.
Too many points. 10.5 football team.
Eagles Raiders.
Raiders -3.
Lions Rams.
Lions in the stack of points.
Bears Bucks.
Bears in the stack of points.
Texans Cards.
Texans in the biggest stack of points.
Colts Niners.
Colts +4.
And Monday Night Football, the New Orleans Saints at the Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle with the hook.
So congrats to Worm77 for going 12-3-1 and winning Week 5 in the contest. Let's take a look at Week 6. So far, 12 games played, and we have a two-way tie, 9-3 between Cash Only, No Check, and Addie's Daddy. So congrats, guys, on going 9-3. Good luck in your Sunday Night Football and Monday night games. Hopefully you guys can get the shout out on the Week 8 video. And then, in fact, onto the overall leaderboard, where we have Colty Boy sitting at 58 wins in technically 89 games with those 3 pushes. But very, very impressive, 65.2%. Looking like Cassone himself, who is still tied for 3rd overall. Very, very impressive.
How can he complain? He's at 60%.
This
guy's lighting it up. Lighting it up.
I like how Cassone is tied for 3rd, and we're still talking about him instead of Colty Boy and Laser Jets, who are 58 and 55 wins respectively, 65.2%, and just under 62% against the spread. Very, very impressive. And in fact, on to the JS715 name of the week. We'll start off with the honorable mentions.
Betting market vids greater than porn. This is big rise, big addition to the YouTube membership. Just $5 a month. The lowly cost of all of Big Rise time and expertise, it seems to feel like lately. A lot of effort being put into those videos and a lot of value for just $5 a month. What a plug. Gruden's Grinder. I see what you did there. Don't need to expand on that. John Gruden and Hillary Clinton spam folder. Perfect. The Raiders got paroled 6 years early. John Gruden is my best friend. Raiders on a hot tin roof. Me, I thought I had a rough couple weeks. Gruden and Meyer hold our beers. Gruden's lip service. Wow. It seems like if you actually do what he said in real life, you'd get in less trouble. Anyways.
This is the JS715 name of the week. Whoa, kaboom!
Color a condiment. the life and times of double agent mustard. Sometimes you like to finish light. We did have a common theme on all the other ones, so why pick a winner out of those and just go light and nice? And I do like mustard as both a condiment and a color. And I like the grainy mustard color, not the French's yellow that everyone uses. That's not real mustard. Dijon or textured mustard, that's the way to go. Good color, good condiment. Better than ketchup, actually. More nuanced.
Make your picks against the spread for Week 7 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. There's also going to be a link down in the description below. There is a $100 prize in Bitcoin to the regular season winner.
Correct.
So Colty Boy right now in the lead for that 100 USD in Bitcoin. So hopefully you got that wallet ready to go. Fat Guy, that's it. That's the NFL picks against the spread for Week 7. We can see here there's 4 double-digit dogs this week between Washington, Detroit, Chicago, and Houston. Is this deserved? Like, it is, right? This is what the market says.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
The market says, and the market's right. I mean, I'm just surprised. I wouldn't, like, if I was looking ahead, I wouldn't think this was that bad. Even the Houston one, like, I would have thought it would have been like Arizona -9.5 if you would have asked me Week 1, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is what it is. These are the state of the teams, and hopefully the dogs can cover. We can go 3-1 maybe.
Good luck to you guys in your picks for Week 7.